I'd like to record too so that we have a backup just in case.
All right.
I'd like to welcome you to the first 2021. Yay, we're past 2020. The first APCG Wednesday workshop. Today we're going to be focusing on a roundtable discussion about how we are existing and how we're going to move forward. We have two more workshops this month. We have next week will be a Learning Linux workshop, and in 2 weeks we'll be back with a workshop on drones, and you won't want to miss that. Then we'll be back in February. The second Wednesday we will not have one because we have our VTC on that week. And then the third and fourth week, we'll have another Linux, and Bill James will be back for a workshop on routers and modems and wireless. So we've got a lot of stuff already planned coming up for the next few weeks. If you haven't adjusted the name in your window of your picture to what you registered with, we're not going to be able to send you follow-up material. So you need to make sure that the name that we see on the screen is the same as what you registered with. My co-host today is Bill James, Regional Advisor for Region 8. My name is John Kennedy. I'm the advisor for Regions 3 and 6. Our moderator and our facilitator for today's workshop is Judy Tallur, who's Regional Advisor and the BOTA Chair. She will be taking things over. If you have questions during her presentation, or if for some reason you don't want to speak, you can send questions to Bill James or to Judy Tallur through the chat box, and we will either call on you or respond to you. So unless there's anything else I can't think of, I will turn things over. Yes, Judy, over to you.
When you're thinking about renaming yourself, I included this in my presentation. You know, when the light bulb goes on in the strangest places, I changed my name to Judy Tallur, BOTA Chair. Patricia Hill could change her name to Patricia Hill, PRES Booters. Leah Clark could rename herself to Pres Los Angeles Computer Society. That way we'll know from looking at your thumbnail who you're with. You're with CENTCOM or WAC or Payson or whatever. And Bob could be Equituck, or my favorite thing, Avast Evangelist. And that just, you know, our visual thing, we can put name to face to what group you're with. So if you guys do that for me, I'd appreciate it. And to rename, you just need to right click on your thumbnail and click on rename and go for it. Huey's doing it. I can see him typing. Very good. And that's the Sarasota Technology Users Group. Thank you so much for you guys who did it. I appreciate that. I'm going to start us out with an overview presentation just to get some ideas generating maybe in your heads. So when we go for the, when everybody will have an opportunity to put their 2 cents worth in, you might get, I'll talk about that. I've got something that will answer that question. So here we go. And this is benefits for members. This is kind of what APCUG at the beginning has to offer. And my questions to you are, is your group suffering from officer and leader burnout? You only have 1, 2, or 3 officers that are responsible for doing everything, and they've been doing it for years, and they're really getting tired of it. You have a lack of volunteers. Do you have reduced membership? Does the same person or people always give the presentations, but over time they're really not meeting the members' needs? And has your group not transitioned to new technology? Is it still all about computers, computers, computers? So we have the Speakers Bureau that will help you take care of your presentations. They're by Zoom, but I gave one to CENTCOM, the seniors group in Kansas City. They use the free conference call program. So I relearned how to do that with Bob Bowser, and I had a good time giving my presentation that way. But all of these 13 people are more than happy to give you a presentation. They are live, they are interactive. You talk to the person at the beginning, you have live Q&A at the end. And these are the topics that all of us offer presentations on. We have, over 100 that you can choose from on everything but the kitchen sink. All you need to do is go to the website, find the Speakers Bureau, and there's a listing there. Or you can send me an email and I will be more than happy to send you a copy of the Speakers Bureau list in PDF format. And I was giving an in-person presentation to the Glendora group here in SoCal. And when I said, their president said, nobody ever gives me ideas for speakers. So I thought, hey, I'm a new kid on the block here. So I asked if they had any ideas that they would like for presentations. And they all looked at me just like they looked at Jim. And one gal raised her hand and she says, we don't know what we don't know. So that gave me the idea to spin the Speakers Bureau out that can be forwarded to your members. And you can say, hey, get back to me with 3 to 5 presentations that you're interested in. There's descriptions, little mini descriptions on all of the presentations. And Jim said, absolutely fantastic. I got 6 ideas that was coming from the membership, not from him. What he's interested in might not be what they're interested in. We have our virtual technology conferences. It's an added benefit where your members can learn about something new, possibly a topic that you don't have anybody in your club that can give a presentation on. We've had groups that meet on Saturday when we have the VTCs. You'll notice that they're on different Saturdays to accommodate those groups. And they'll show 1 or 2 of the presentations live during their Saturday meeting. And then we always have the YouTube videos that you can use for presentations. Many groups kind of scope a few out, and if the president that you scheduled can't be there for some reason, they can immediately plug in a VTC YouTube video and not be standing there thinking, oh Lord, I have to do this meeting by myself. Oh, we'll just have a Q&A. Have a VTC video in your back pocket. And if there's somebody that is at one of our, the roundtable and you're still not meeting in person, you might want to think about trying one of APCUG's free Zoom accounts. We've had many groups take advantage of that, decide this is great. They buy their own subscription, about $149 a year. If you are a nonprofit, let them know, because they don't charge tax. We have other groups that are using our 2 free accounts for their meetings, their board meetings, their special interest groups. So where can you get ideas from? You can attend other group meetings. I sent an email around to all of the groups and said, if you're meeting online, could other members from other groups attend your meetings? And there's a list on the website of those groups, and they all have a different criteria that you send an email to and request getting on their email list. And I love it because when I did some training for Patricia's Booters group in Arizona, she said, hey, this is a good idea. We can attend other people's meetings and find out how they do things. And maybe we'll get an idea on how to, freshen up how we're doing XYZ. And if you can get presentation ideas from How to Geek articles, as well as make use of articles, and they all include the screenshots. So if somebody wants a presentation on, the XYZ subject, and you've read an article from either one of those newsletters, so to speak, that come through to you, you can put one together really instantly. If you send, ask your members, hey, let's have a few, I'm not ever going to do this question. Let's have a few members give a, maybe 10 or 15-minute presentation at a meeting. Refer them to the How to Geek and make use of articles to quickly put one together. You can check out other groups' websites for presentation ideas. You just go to the UGLS, search by state, and if you wanted to see what Greeley's doing, CVC, Micro, or Pikes Peak in Colorado, you would merely click on that link and it will bring up their listing, and you can click on the website to go straight through. And some of the meeting ideas that are out there, and Dave Gerber is going to give us a little overview of what STUG does on their Circle of Learning. They do this every December, and I've always thought it was the greatest meeting idea. But there's a calendar out there that talks about technology events during the year. So it's DPD in January, and you can read those. And let's say it's Safer Internet Day. That month you could have some kind of presentation about the internet, or let's do preventive maintenance, National Clean Out Your Computer Day. So this is just ideas where, you could put a little presentation together or have somebody do that, a mini presentation. March 31st, in March, we are going to have a Wednesday workshop on backing up. And I thought, how cool, March 31st is World Backup Day. And National Disaster Preparedness Month. I had a presentation on that by one of our city people, and it was informative. The Red Cross does that too. The Online Learning Day, hey, Huey Poplock has Learning Resources for Seniors presentation that he gives. And then we have Bob giving presentations year round, but specifically during October, when you could tie in your publicity that you send out because it's National Cybersecurity Preparedness Month. National Download Day, how to safely download apps, blah, blah, blah. So just a thought on a little theme for presentations you might want to use. And who knows, maybe if you are sending PR out to your local newspaper, they would think, gee, it's National App Day. This group is giving a presentation on whatever, downloading apps, checking them out, all that good kind of stuff. Maybe we will put that information in the newspaper. And I'm hoping that all groups have some kind of social time before the meeting. I did some training early on with a group in SoCal, and one guy's username on his thumbnail was unhappy user. And I thought, oh dear, I wonder if he means what I think he means. And he did. He was unhappy that they were meeting via Zoom. So we went through how to have a Zoom meeting, what to do, and everybody was chit-chatting among themselves. And then they had their board meeting, and then they had social time afterwards too, and they chit-chatted for another 15 or 20 minutes. Their president let me know that unhappy user was a happy user, because even though they couldn't have their food together, they were at least, chatting among themselves and catching up and things like that. So I hope that you have something either, at the beginning for 30 minutes or 15 minutes, but make them welcome. Make them think, you can't do it in person, but it's pretty close to it. You might want to have a looping presentation about your group at the beginning of your meeting with meeting SIG, etc. information on it, just to keep everybody up to date with what is doing. You're letting your members know the bang they're getting for their buck, so to speak. And I was recently at the CENTCOM meeting, and each member was acknowledged by name when they entered. And they let the members know that if the meeting was being recorded in case they wanted to turn off their video. And I thought that was a really good idea. And then the president said, and this is where the videos are located if you want to check any past ones. If you have guests, ask where they found out about the group in the meeting. I was at the Los Angeles Computer Society last night, and one of the members had invited Howard. And he was the first time, and he's going to have his name on their email list now. And hopefully down the line, Howard will be interested in joining their group. In your looping presentation, you could talk about your classes. They have a lunch and learn, all kinds of things that you can talk about. You're publicizing your group. I know you're preaching to the choir, but you need to remind your members of really what is out there that they might not be taking advantage of. And APCUG, that's the group in SoCal, and SEMCON, they share the screen and show what's been updated on the website. And they showed where the link to the group's webinars and meetings with handouts is located. And her comment was, keep checking our website for updates. Thanks to our webmaster, blah, 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 for keeping it up to date. And if there are any committee reports, many groups have a, small, business meeting before the presentation, committee reports, and anything else you want your members to be aware of. I've attended the Westchester group in New York, and Pierre asked, they have 12 special interest groups, and he asked each one of the leaders what they plan for their next SIG meeting. So again, it's just a little tidbit of information to let your members be aware of what's going on. And this is one of the presentation, so to speak, the president gave for the Sun City Summerlin group. He let everybody know that when the next meeting is, and that Huey will be there talking about the browser, your most important app. People looking at that, oh, I'm going to mark that on my calendar. That's something that I'm going to want to see. And they had their election results, and as it usually is, the ballot was uncontested. You might have the pictures with the name of your president, director, secretary, treasurer, your board. You're acknowledging those who are leading the group. And again, you're getting members familiar with that. And with that, my idea popped up that having your name and your member or your president or whatever on your thumbnail, again, so that visual reference is up there all the time. And they said, dues are due, still only $10 per month, and told them where they could pay them online, by mail, or in person. They are a hybrid group right now. And then they had a link to their website, and it's at the about SCC. And they let everybody know the January Gigabyte Gazette is now online. Many groups also put that on their Facebook accounts. And then it was over to information about who I am, and a description of my presentation that I was going to be giving. So informing everybody, the president, Jeff, talked through all of this, but again, it got everybody on board, got their attention, and then off we went. And of course, he asked if there were any questions, and he said, thank you, please stay safe and healthy. And then it was over to me. Under the Computer Hood Users Group in SoCal has been doing this for quite a while. And this is their first slide, and this loops at the beginning and lets everybody know, hey, your audio is muted right now. Talks about the chat, and they'll respond as appropriate. Visit their website. Talks about the meeting that's going on that night. And this was the one from November. They were kind enough to talk about the upcoming VTC. They meet the first Wednesday of the month, so that worked really well. And I thank them for doing that. And then this is what they have on their meetup page. And that's the back of their t-shirt. And if their members look at that, oh, I forgot to get my t-shirt. And they could ask, is there still time to order one? I have mine too. And they go through the website. What's new? Their webmaster, Bob Woods, comes up with different free things and puts them on the website, and then he actually goes into each and every one and just a quick demo on everything that is up there in case the members or guests want to visit the website and download the programs. But he gives them a little tease on how you can use it. And it never hurts to have some cartoons in there to give somebody a grin. And the one thing that I'm noticing, this is on the front page of the APCUG site. I go to a gazillion websites, during a week and check them out and see what's happening with groups. I'm finding a lot of them don't have anything on their homepage that they're meeting online. It still looks like they're meeting at the XYZ Clubhouse, room number 32.5. And I'm really surprised about that, because I think everybody should have something on their homepage saying, hey, we're meeting via Zoom. Please, join us if you'd like to get more information, or you would like to be invited to our meetings. Send an email to wherever they can get that invite, just like in my sharing meetings list. So please take a look at your website and see if you're letting the world know that you're still alive and well and meeting via Zoom. And thanks to those folks who came up with some roundtable topics for us to start thinking about. And of course, one of them said, why don't we recruit from places like assisted living homes? They're not mobile enough to drive, but maybe they can use Zoom to attend meetings. He would like to have how to do it techniques for having meetings both in person and on Zoom. That was for his group to learn how to do that. And another person said, we need to talk about how we can encourage and support group leaders and members to use Zoom. I have people say, we used to have 60 people at our meetings, and now we have 12. Well, they're hesitant to use Zoom. Seniors are saying, oh, it's just something new to learn. Well, yeah, you need to learn 3 things in order to use it, and it's all that. If anybody's got any creative fundraising ideas and how to provide tech support during the pandemic. I know that some groups are still doing that. Again, it's kind of a hybrid thing, but can you do tech support online? Are any groups doing that, and how are they doing it? This is from Gabe. He finds groups out there that are still involved with old technology. And, it was so difficult for many groups to get their members to go on to smartphones and home automation and things like that. But there's still groups out there that it's all about computers. The problems with one person doing everything, how to set up a hybrid meeting. Let's talk about volunteer burnout, and transforming your club in something that will still have relevance in 10 years' time. That came for the president of the Melbourne group in Australia, who is still in bed because it's like 4 o'clock in the morning there. And the ever popular how to cope with declining membership. And Bill James is going to talk about why your group should have an APCUG rep. And we have Peter Hess from the Dayton group, and he would like to upgrade the Speakers Bureau presentations to next level. And he'd like to have presentations like in that paragraph right there for his group. So if there is anybody that is looking at that list right there that does any of those things and would be happy to give a presentation to groups, let me know. jtalor@apcug.org. And I've sent out 5 surveys over the years, starting in 2007. And these topics right here, 5 of them, have always been the same. Always been the top 5, not necessarily in that order, but with 2020, these topics are still tops of our list that we need to do something about. Hopefully today, we'll get some ideas on how to take care of some of those bullet points. And as John said, here are our upcoming workshops through the end of February. I hope to see a lot of you there. And that is it. So hopefully that gave you some ideas. Hopefully that gave you some things that, oh, I can talk about that. I can do this. I can do that. So why don't you unmute everybody and let's go for it.
They have the ability.
John Rederath, I was kind of surprised at we used to have Microsoft give their classes at our club when we had it. And can you hear me?
Yeah. I have
Can
an
you hear me?
answer. If you have a Microsoft store in your area, they will give classes for you. Over to Patricia. Please unmute yourself and tell them what you're doing.
But could I finish what I started?
Yeah, go ahead, and then she'll
Okay.
talk.
So I checked out here, and I went to the mall where I used to go, where there's the Microsoft office or store, and they were closed. All of the IBM stores are closed in the big malls. So I left a message, and darned if they don't have a branch manager. So the branch manager worked out a deal, and he gave a presentation to our group right from Microsoft. Now, one thing you have to be a little cautious about is the idea that they may not have Zoom, they may have a different product, but they'll help you through that as well. But I was flabbergasted that we could get Microsoft to come to our meeting, and they gave a really nice professional meeting, as you might expect. And they will have training in their local offices too, and I think most of those might be free. That's all I have to say, and thank you for your time.
Thanks. Patricia, well, how are you working with Microsoft in Phoenix?
Well, it's my understanding that there are no longer any open Microsoft stores, that they have all closed. We had been having in-store presentations from Microsoft for about an hour before the store actually opened. Then with COVID, everything shut down and Microsoft left their stores closed. What we are doing is we have an agreement with them that they will do presentations for, it started out just Arizona. And I'm not sure whether there's going to be an issue with clubs that are not in Arizona. I think it has something to do with the territory situation. But nevertheless, if you're an Arizona club, you can go to computerbooters.org and you can sign up for one of 2 workshops that will be held every month. Rob, you're here somewhere. I don't see you, but you're here somewhere.
I am.
Rob is the one who worked with Microsoft on setting up the classes. As far as you know, are they still hanging on to just Arizona? And you're muted, Rob. There you go.
No, I mean, it's not that we originally started with our club. They wanted more people, so we opened it up to Arizona. I mean, I don't think there's necessarily a restriction per se. I just talked to our rep this morning, and they're really, I don't know how long this is going to last, to be perfectly honest, because they're looking to do classes with around a 40 or 50 person audience. And they're focusing a lot more on enterprise but they also love doing what we're doing and they don't want to lose and stop. So I would encourage, if you have a Microsoft store near you, or if you want, or if you can't get a hold of somebody, if you send me an email, I'll be more than happy to contact our rep and I'll pass on your information, or just let me know what area you're in and we can see what we can do for you. But we do right now, we're doing 2 workshops a month. And right now we're scheduled out all the way through March.
And Rob is going to put his email address in the chat box for you. And I highly recommend that you get in touch with your Microsoft store, give them a call, see who you get. If they say, we don't know what you're talking about, tell them about Phoenix. I attend some of the Phoenix workshops, and they haven't balked at a California person. And the Connecticut group, I attended one about 6 months ago by their local Microsoft person. In fact, it was the same person that would come and give the in-person presentations.
Their
So
stores
give it a
have all
go and let's see if we can keep the ball rolling. But that's one of the reasons Microsoft stopped giving presentations to groups, is they want all of the, they want lots of people. So if you can have one in your area, invite other clubs to attend.
There is no stores open anymore.
I know, but you give them a call and you get
Yeah.
through to them. They're all working at the presentation that the Connecticut group was from the guy's home, and they brought in 2 other people. And then I had a personal presentation afterwards, and one was in Wisconsin and 2 were in Connecticut. Over to Huey.
Let me unmute and lower my hand. There we go. Thank you. I have several items that I'd like to just mention. I'll just mention them briefly, and maybe other people can chime in or talk about them. One is, your presentations don't have to be an hour and a half long. You could do either one 15-minute one and then have discussion about it, or you can have 2 or 3 different 5, 10, 15-minute presentations. So don't go looking for somebody. If you're having trouble getting someone to fill a whole hour and a half, do it with some small ones, or get a discussion going after one of them. And leading from that is, I just recently put together about a 15-minute presentation on what Microsoft is about to do with subscription windows. And then I did it in such a way at the end, I said, open for discussion. What do you think? And then I've used it in 2 meetings now. I used it in one, and then somebody else used it in another meeting. The recording is up on my YouTube channel, and anyone is free to use it. And if you need to get in touch with me, feel free, and I'll give you the link to it. And if you put something like that together, get it out for some of the other groups to use. And speaking of recordings of other groups, a lot of you do record your meetings, and a lot of you post them on YouTube. Share that information where people can find them, and they can use either all or part of any of your meeting presentations for their meetings. And this past Sunday at the Central Florida Computer Society, I was demonstrating recently a new scanner that I had, and I scanned some old newsletters from our group back from the day when they weren't saved as PDFs, before there was a PDF, 1984, 1989, and 1990. And then I demonstrated, and we talked about some of the articles in there and some of the people. We had a reminiscing day, and I had put out in the newsletter prior to that an invite, and a lot of old members came and was part of that reminiscing. Well, one of the members who had written a database for our membership and was a SIG leader for many years, hasn't been around the group, hasn't been a part of the group probably for 15 years, came and was a part of the meeting. It was great. Right now, that's, oh, and also, if you do have recordings out there on your channel, put together some playlists and then share those playlists so people can look at several meetings together and they don't have to go searching for all of them separately. Okay.
Judy?
Would you be interested in having a section on APCUG's website with links to your videos and your playlists, so other groups can find them easily, because we don't know everybody's group name, etc.? Or just a list of your YouTube, that you have a YouTube channel and the address that matches that. Let me know in the chat box if that's something that you'd like me to put together, like the shared meeting list. Over to Kurt.
I made a few notes while you were going through your presentation, and a couple things I'd like to make people aware of, maybe toward getting better participation. I have a request for whoever takes and puts the information about the VTCs on the APCUG website. Would you please put up a single page that contains everything that somebody would want in order to attend the meeting, i.e. the registration link and the Zoom link for it, and the topics. One place, please, because I'll be happy. On the front page of our website, we have upcoming events. And what I typically do is take the VTC and put it up there as though it were one of our events, the time slot for it. And I'd like to be able to simply take and point people to one place. I don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. And I think maybe that's the case for other people. Another thing, if you don't have a Zoom account yet, it was the case last spring. I wish I had looked a little bit closer. There were a lot of discounts available. I easily found a discount for 15% on a year-long subscription. A friend of mine looked a little bit harder and got a 50% discount. Whether you'll be able to do that for renewals or not, I don't know. And one other thing to make your meetings a little bit better, and this is something that is relatively new. I think it came out in about September. There is a feature called Spotlight. What it allows you to do is to take from 1 to 9 participants that you have in your meeting and spotlight them, make them take up the major portion of the screen for presentations. You can also do this with a couple, 2 to more people, and you get what I call a poor man's webinar, because the people that you spotlight, okay, 1 through 9, get featured in large pictures, and it's something that I now routinely do for presentations. So, off my soapbox, I'll take questions or.
Over to Lloyd.
Okay, hi, everybody. I just wanted to, you started into the conversation about Microsoft and getting instructions. So I'd just like to point out something. In my next meeting, which will be the 3rd Wednesday of the month, whatever that is, there's an article in the Financial Times. Microsoft is coming in with a vengeance to take on Zoom. And I mean a vengeance. And they're using that product called Teams to do it and to get their foot in the door. So to ask, and I'm just making this as a comment, to ask Microsoft to teach you about Zoom, I think not. That's all I have to say.
Over to George.
Hi. A couple of things. We've had a drop in our membership. I just checked it today, and we're down from about 140 to 100. We're still getting low turnouts on our video conferences, and I think we have to go back with surveys, and we've been using Google Forms to do surveys, which works reasonably well. At least people are still reading their emails. Many of our members are not attending our video conferences, but I'm thinking, like in this video conference, if you wanted to do a poll, how would you actually do it? I mean, does Zoom have a meter that you can do with a poll? Because I don't see it in any of the buttons on my screen. Or does that only appear on the hosts screen?
John, over to you for an answer.
Yeah, there is polls that can be run. I have a couple of groups that run polls, and the host would set them up ahead of time and then post it. People can answer, see the results of it, and then it can be saved.
And is that interactive in Zoom, or is that outside of Zoom?
In Zoom, it would be just like popping up the chat box.
Okay. Okay.
And you can leave it up for a certain amount of time, and then it automatically closes or leave it up. And
So is it possible, like right now, I'm wondering how many people have seen declines in their membership, how many people have seen increases in their membership. So to put a poll like that together, because you want to be able to do polls, you could even do a voice poll. Is there some,
Voice polls,
how long does it take to
nobody
set that up?
talks. Let's see. It looks like he's looking at how to do that right now as we speak. Or not.
it is, but it's something you set up ahead of time.
So
And
yeah, the Geeks on Tour, when they gave a presentation to the
All
Dayton
these
group,
people.
she put up a poll instantly with her questions. She had 3 questions, I believe, and then she
Say,
showed
who
us
are
the
all
answers.
these people you have here?
I'll tell you later.
YouTube,
Somebody needs to mute themselves who was talking to somebody in the background. Kurt, over to you again.
I think it was Hank.
My train of thought got disrupted here. I'm sorry. With regard to polls, one of the simplest things that you'll always have available is the raise hand. If you want to take and conduct a poll, if you can see everybody. I wish I had a problem where I couldn't in our group, but you can just have people raise their hand. Yay, count them. Nay, count them. That's pretty easy. Something else you'll note that I moved into the TCPC room in my house where I have the wall painted behind me. That's not a bad idea to take and identify who you are or perhaps your relationship in the group. So.
Over to Rob. Unmute, please. Rob?
Okay, let's try this again. All right, I've used polls when I'm doing classes. The downside of the Zoom polls is it's a multiple choice, but primarily a yes or no. So as long as and you need to set those up through your settings for the individual, per meeting, okay, unless you are doing reoccurring meetings. They work fine and they're quick down and dirty, but as I said, they are a yes or no type response.
Over to Carl.
Hi, I take some meetings with the American Radio Relay League, and it's usually about a subject having to do with ham radio. You know, do you use this or that? And they're typically 4 or maybe 5 questions right at the beginning of the meeting to assess the experience of people in the group with various techniques like contesting or something to do with satellite communications. And they'll ask you, you know, you're active, you're slightly active, or you're new and you want to learn whatever you can.
John. Over to you.
Do you see John?
Yourself. Yeah, unmute yourself.
He's unmuted.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Okay.
I just going back to one of the questions. If you go to YouTube and search on Eric Thurwanger, and he gives a 20-minute instruction on how to do surveys and a lot of nice little easy things. It's 20 minutes long, and his name is Eric Thurwalder, and I think the title was Communication Menu or something like that. But he does a really nice job, and he does it fast. And man, there's a lot of neat bells and whistles that come out of that, including surveys built right into Zoom. I'm not promoting Zoom, but it was built in. Thank you.
Please add that information to the chat box.
Okay.
Hank, it's your turn.
2 items. First, I've run some polls on at Zoom meetings, and as I recall, it's got to be the host that sets the poll up. Second, I wonder if anyone here has some suggestions for finding new members. That's one of the things that leaped out to me in Judy's presentation. And if anyone does, I would suggest they hold their hand up and say how. Thanks.
And Hank actually is in Hawaii. So he's really on the beach out there with that palm tree. Dave Gerber, you're on.
Yeah, speaking of polls, our user group, Sarasota Technology User Group, we recently held our annual elections using a Zoom poll. Of course, you know, they're not contested for the most part. I don't remember when they ever were, but we had to find a way to hold an election, and that worked out. That worked out well for us.
Over to Kurt. Unmute yourself, please.
I'm sorry, has to do with muting. There's a relatively new feature in Zoom called Ask to Unmute. It's in the middle of the advanced settings for meetings. If you turn it on, when people come to your meeting, they will see a dialog box as part of the signing in process that says, will you allow, and the host name, to unmute you. If they allow that, okay, the host can take and unmute anybody that allows it. So if you see somebody that's speaking and you can't hear them, and you're hosting it, you or co-host, you can take and unmute them. What I use it where it works best is if you're going to have somebody do a presentation, you take and spotlight them, mute everybody, unmute your speaker, and tell people that they can unmute themselves whenever they want. And at the end, you can click the request to unmute, and everybody that's given you that permission will automatically be unmuted.
Over to Chuck. Chuck Horner.
Yes. One of the best ways to find out how to recruit new members is ask the members you already have how they came into the group. Done.
Rob.
Yeah, we're getting ready to do something on the 28th, which is Data Privacy Day. And we're going to put together, I put together a security workshop, but we're opening it up to the general public. Hopefully kind of showing them what they're missing by not being a member of our organization. And that's just kind of a suggestion, but I think if people get the opportunity to experience what we're offering, you're probably going to have a little bit better chance of pulling people into the group.
The Durham group in Canada is having 2 representatives from Stay Safe Online that sponsors Data Privacy Day, which is quite a coup for them. And they will be giving a presentation on how to do exactly what Rob was talking about. And I sent information out to all of the presidents with info about DPD, as well as little, something during the 4 weeks of January that you could send out to your members or post on your website. And I've asked permission to record that presentation, and I will be uploading it to APCUG's YouTube channel. So that was my calendar. In the calendar of technology holidays, or whatever you want to call it, it'll give you an idea that you can have a recruiting meeting about whatever it is for that month. And it's just an easy reference to do that. But several groups are doing DPD, Data Privacy Day type presentations. A perfect one would have had Bob G give his 2021 presentation. Over to
Judy,
Peter.
Judy?
What?
While you're on the same topic, I was going to say that the walk group is also having a recruiting meeting tomorrow. Terry Harvey has put that information out, and Rob Truman is going to be the presenter on Cutting the Cord. And the idea, of course, was to draw people in to their club meeting tomorrow. Unfortunately, it's almost simultaneously with the one that the Canadian people are doing. But Terry, you might want to talk about that. I know she's here.
I belong to an app called Nextdoor. It's something that's local and it pertains to people in your neighborhood. It's kind of a chit-chatty place. And there was a lot of discussion on, someone posted a message about they would like to cut the cord, but they're clueless about it. And so I just posted a message back that if there was enough interest, that our club would get together and do something. And so that's what we've done. And we've publicized it there with good response.
And I am going to do the same thing with Nextdoor, which is a great place to publicize your meetings. It is free. When I send something out via my zip code and surrounding areas, it goes to 5,000 houses. So nextdoor.com, if you would talk to your board members and say, hey, do you belong to that? Would you be willing to send out a meeting announcement? Excellent way to publicize your meetings. We're all up in the air in my valley about everybody hating Spectrum. And I suggested people cut the cord. And I'm going to do what Terry did. I'm going to send out to my 5,000 residents whether they would like to have a presentation on, cut the cord, to see how to do it. Again, grab what's happening in the here and now and see if you can, find somebody that can give a presentation about it, and off you go. Chuck, you still have your hand raised. Do you have something else to add? Okay, over to Peter Hess.
Thank you. Can you hear me? I'm not sure.
A little louder, please.
A little louder, okay. I'll speak up. Judy, I really liked your presentation, your PowerPoint earlier. If would it be possible for you to send that to us?
I will be sending it to everybody who's on the John's attendee list when he sends it to me.
Thank you. Also, the chat from our talk today too, if that's possible.
Absolutely.
Good. Thank you very much. And I put in the chat about our presentation on Microsoft Teams. I called Microsoft. They referred me to a reseller. We recorded the meeting and put it on our YouTube channel, which is available by clicking on a link near the bottom of the page, our YouTube channel link at the bottom of the page of our homepage, which is dma1.org. And that's it for now. I might have other questions later.
Thank you. Dorothy, you're on.
I was looking on the screen there. I saw that I wasn't. But anyways, hi to everybody. And I'd like to thank everyone that does the presentations that I attend. I think the most people that showed up in our club was last week when Judy did her presentation on digital legacy. And it was a great presentation. I just wanted to mention that I'm affiliated with George there. Another way that we recruit members is our local newspaper has once a month a senior section, and our Victoria Computer Club, through our Silver Threads where we normally meet, puts in a tip of the month. So I typically, along with George, write a tip of the month. And in that we say that even though we're not physically meeting, you can join our club via Zoom, and then we put our website in the newspaper. And a lot of people I know didn't know that we wrote that. And it's also in the Silver Threads newsletter that goes out to all their members. I don't know if they still have 700 members, but they mail it out once a month. So that's what we normally do. Typically, we don't put the Zoom links in our calendar because we didn't want people not affiliated with the club to get access. And currently, we don't have a way for members to sign in and just get access to the recorded Zoom. So we haven't been doing it due to privacy issues and people's pictures and names. So, but yeah, I'd like to thank everyone. I absorb everything. I'm a retired IT person, and everything I learn keeps my brain going. Thank you.
Yep, learning something new is fantastic. Paul Howard.
Thank you, Judy. Just a word of warning to folks. Someone, perhaps Judy, mentioned the joy of cartoons, but cartoons come with problems. They tend to be copyrighted. We have someone harassing us for a cartoon in a 10-year-old presentation that was posted to our website. They want $300 for the use of copyrighted material. So be a little careful with what you use and leave posted.
How to Geek cartoons are welcome to be used by everybody. I wouldn't use anything else other than that. We've had another group in SoCal. They got hung out to dry by an attorney out of Washington about a graphic that was in a presentation that was originally given at the Southwest Conference a gazillion years ago. Group is disbanded. They had a link to that presentation because the gentleman gave it to their group probably 10 years ago. Again, like Paul said, eons ago. And Los Angeles Computer Society got dinged on something like that too. Their vice president has to be an attorney, and Stephanie said, don't worry, I will take care of that. So that's a common practice. That's why I say with all of our VTC presentations, people do not use anything that is copyrighted. And the first time I made that statement, one presentation came back to me with almost no graphics. And after that, the graphics from that person are always from his personal computer, and he talks about that at the beginning of his presentation. That's where they came from. We have to be very careful about that. Okay, Richard, you're on.
Talking about getting officers and volunteers, the best way I found to do it is to have a one-on-one conversation with an individual. Don't just stand up the front and say, we need a volunteer for so-and-so. Nobody's going to be bold enough to stand up and say, I'll be an idiot. But just go and talk to them one-on-one. They might be a little bit hesitant at first, but then when you mention some of the rewards they'll get, the experience they'll get, before you know it, they'll change their mind and say yes.
And I believe April is National Volunteer Recognition Month. It's different down in Australia. It's a different month. And it could be a different month in Canada. But I suggest that part of the meeting that you have during Volunteer Recognition Month is recognize your volunteers. You know, they can't stand up and take a bow, but by golly, you could do the spotlight that Kurt was talking about. But everybody likes to see their name in print, or they would like some kind of recognition, just a thank you. And we often forget to say thank you for stuff that everybody does over time. And a simple thank you at each meeting for somebody who has done something for the club that month. Over to Joe, whose group has hybrid meetings, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. This is Joe Jimenez from Denver, Colorado. We are using Zoom, and also like Julie mentioned, we hybrid face-to-face meeting, and we also Zoom out too. We also communicated our room that we use in the rec center, depending on the COVID situation. So it's a month-to-month basis, so they will tell us. Speaking about Zoom, we also, our membership is small, but there's another group, non-APCUG group, but we extended using our services, the Zoom, to hold their meeting, because they normally hold their meeting in a library. And of course, the library is kind of restricted because of the COVID situation. So I extended to use our service. So in some ways, we are expanding our group a little better, and we exchange our presentations. So it kind of worked out. If there is another group, I suggest to extend your Zoom account to say, hey, we will happily provide this service for you. So we have a free exchange of information. So that's an idea to we have to expand our membership if it's still alive. All right, thank you very much. It's a nice have a meeting like this.
And I have attended a totally Zoom meeting with Micro and a hybrid meeting. And it was interesting because the presenter was at the hybrid meeting and they sat in a semicircle, the specific number of feet they needed to be apart, and mentioned that they would like the people who needed help with hearing to sit up front. And the gentleman gave the entire presentation wearing a mask, could totally understand him. It didn't make any difference. And they kind of turned into pumpkins at a certain time because they need to get out of there. Apparently their door is locked after they start, so they can't, nobody else can get in. And they have some special way that they exit. And my thinking is they're all walking out 6 feet apart to the parking lot, but that's the way they are handling it, and it's working great for them. Over to Edward Kenny from Huntsville.
Yes, I just came back now because my computer crashed. Do you know how long you're going to keep maintaining Zoom 3 and Zoom 4 for user groups?
Until we need it, until nobody needs it anymore.
Okay.
Another one of your benefits from membership.
Yeah.
Okay, another thing, I don't know about now, but back last summer, some of our members says they never want to go back to in-person meetings. So, but I don't want to do Zoom meetings forever. So what am I going to do?
Groups will never be anything but a Zoom club. Many groups have gotten new members because people don't drive late at night, so to speak, after dark in the wintertime. And they've gotten new members, and some of them are going to be hybrid because not everybody is going to be wanting to run out and meet in person with a bunch of people. That's just going to be their policy. So you have to do what your members want to do. It's their club, not my club. It's their club.
And their checkbook.
My problem is I'm the only one doing anything for the club now. If I stop doing the meetings, the club will dissolve. So
same with my group, and that's the way it goes. You need to share that information with everybody and say they got to step up to the plate. Not that that works, but it's a good idea.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thanks, Judy.
Stephanie. Unmute, please.
Okay. The Los Angeles Computer Society has been recording things for a long time, and we have podcasts that you can get via our website. And we've been doing videos for a while and have not actually published any of them, that, as far as I know, partly for editing reasons. But other than that, I'd like to know how much it costs to have a YouTube channel and how much trouble is it?
It is free, Stephanie, and one of your members many months ago got in touch with me on how to do it. I sent him the instructions and I never heard back. I figured he thought it was too complicated to do.
Was that
number one, you have to have some kind of program that you know that you can upload it with. If you have to edit it, like taking off front slides or back slides or taking junk out of the middle of it. And I happen to use an old Microsoft Live Essentials program, which is what I told him. It is super simple to use because this kind of thing is not my thing. And, but it works out fine. Bob G has given a presentations on a video editing program that he uses that he finds very simple to use. So get in touch and I'll find my instructions and forward them to you and Leah, and you guys can see if it's something you want to do. Once you figure it out, but you have to have one that you can intuitively do. that, again, is not going to take a volunteer that much time, or they're not going to want to do it. And there's no charge for a YouTube channel.
Okay. Is there any, do we have to get some sort of a release from the people who are participating?
Like the CENTCOM president said, we are recording this meeting. They post them on their website. And that her comment was, if you don't want to be on the video, be like Dorothy and just have her static picture up there. Dorothy might say, gee, I don't want my face up on YouTube. You give them fair warning. That takes care of it. As an attorney, I think you would agree. If they're warned, it's their option. I know one time I put a photo of somebody on the Southwest Tech Conference website, and the gal absolutely came unglued.
Mm.
So we changed our application to say, by registering for the Southwest Conference, your video might be on the website, and it might be Facebook or wherever, to give everybody fair notice that when they signed that little document and registered, they could let us know whether they want to be on or not. But let them know.
I think the easiest that a lot of people are doing now are saying, we will be showing unless you say not, rather than ask everybody for permission. Schools are having that, because when you have hundreds and hundreds of kids with stuff going on YouTube or web pages, to get all those permissions in, it's easier just to say, if you don't want it, then let us know, because you can isolate one particular child.
That was just the registration for the conference. Like CENTCOM's president said, we will be recording this meeting. If you don't want to be on the recording, turn off your video.
Okay.
Over to you, Kurt.
Last night, TCPC had probably our largest meeting in years. And I'm not quite sure why. I know I publicized it in one group, and we had people from Illinois. We had a speaker from Oregon, coast of Oregon, beautiful country, and that. But I'd like to stand up here and say I am a proponent whenever you can do it. You can't do it with this meeting, I don't think, but I'm a proponent for open meetings. We invite anybody to come to our meetings. We post the credentials for the meeting on our website, in our calendar, and that we have taken and the ICS file that's available if you make recurring meetings. I've been in several groups where we take and we send that out to people and tell them, if you use a computer calendar, okay, open this up. Okay, they open the ICS file up, say save, and one group I'm in meets every 2 weeks. We sent one out for 2021, and with a couple of clicks, they had all of our meetings, in their calendar. And that, but by putting our credentials on our website, I'm sure we let people in that would not have come. People are concerned about Zoom bombing. I know a couple of people that have done it or had that experience. One of them, I expected to take it very seriously, and he said, "Yeah, it's no big deal. We shut the meeting. We shut the meeting down. We open it back up and go on our way." So I am a proponent of not requiring people to register. Let them come in. Okay, if you have a problem with it, then do something. If you get bombed, then change your credentials and put up the new ones. But off of the soapbox again.
Kurt, was that your Lowcast meeting?
Yes, it was the Lowcast meeting.
Hey, I sent that out to over 100 Linux people. I told you I was going to do that. I specifically sent it to the Ventura County group that uses Lowcast, and I even let Lowcast know that you were having a presenter from Oregon, and they wished you well with your presentation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Okay, next month.
Bob Bowser.
I want to thank Judy for mentioning our group several times today. She was a great speaker. I think it was just last week, wasn't it, or week before? Anyway.
How time flies.
Yeah, it does. It does. I'd make a few comments. We put our information on how to get in our meetings. We have not been using Zoom. We've been using free conference call. We explain it on our website how to get into it. We leave our dates. And basically anybody who would want to join us is free to do so. I want to make a comment to Edward, who is, as I have been in a couple of groups, the one who ends up feel like they do almost everything. There's probably a group here that's dead because I moved from one area of the state of Kansas to another, unfortunately. But I just want to comment, that's a common thing with these computer groups. We've watched a lot of them die over the years. I hope none of yours do. I'm working hard to keep mine going. I was president for 6 years, finally convinced somebody to step in, and she's doing a wonderful job for us. And it's hard to get volunteers, very hard. The example of talking individually to people, I agree with that, and you're going to still lose about 50 to 75% of the time. So good luck at it. We need as many people active in these clubs as we can get. I guess that's all I was going to say.
And please remember, you do not have to have a person who is extremely knowledgeable in technology as your president. Bob told me that their president feels that, she's not, but she's a wonderful president. That is her thing. She is running the club. She's got other people to do things. Back in the day, the two techies in my group said, Judy, why don't you run the club and we'll do the technology stuff. It's worked out wonderfully. They've gone away and I'm still doing everything now, including the technology stuff. But you learn by attending presentations and reading things and stuff like that. So if you've got people in your group that they've been presidents of other groups, the book club or whatever, but their technology is not an expert subject for them, it's fine for them to be president. The person that does the most work in a club is the program chair. That is the most difficult job as far as I'm concerned. Over to
I'm sorry. Can I make a comment on what you just said? I agree with you. I'm kind of a techie. I've been a techie for years. It's really a problem to have your techie as a president, because he wants to help other people. He wants to do things, or she, whichever it might be. It's much more difficult when you're balancing many, many balls. And I so much appreciate somebody coming forward and being willing to take over as president so that I can do the teaching and things like that I really enjoy doing.
Over to Bob G.
Someone had mentioned Zoom bombing. I'm part of Tech for Seniors. We do a show weekly. We've already done 43 of them. And we had two incidents of Zoom bombing, and that was right at the very, very beginning. There has not been one incident of Zoom bombing since then. And as I said, it's a weekly show. The link is advertised all over the place. So Zoom has also come a long, long way from when it first started. Security things have been put in place. And with a waiting room now, it's very easy to pick out people who'd like to come in, but you never let them in.
And don't forget, if you have somebody that's disrupting your meeting, the host or co-host can always kick them out. You don't need to turn your meeting off and turn it back on again. Just kick their little bodies out. And with this new version, you can, get rid of them for a long time. Two options. Over to George.
Thanks. A couple of questions. I noticed that when other people raise their hand, I get bumped to the end. So I don't know how that happens. But what I wanted to say was that our association with the seniors group here, which was originally forced by financially not being able to afford our own clubhouse anymore, turned out to be a real plus. And they are now coming to us for help on running virtual meetings, because they're not open for their regular exercise stuff and all of that, but they still want to maintain some of their programs like Memory Plus and stuff like that. So it's a two-way street, and they have done a good job about publicizing and getting us new members. They have a staff, a paid staff, so that offloads a lot of the publicity work from us. So I would encourage organizations that are really near death's door to search out their local community centers, particularly if they're privately run, and see if there's a cooperation that you can work out with them.
We used to meet at a senior center. We will never go back. But I'm on the Senior Center Advisory Council, and by golly, apparently they have a calendar of meetings on their website. I know they have a calendar of their classes and stuff, but the executive director said, you know, let us know about your meeting and we'll put it on our calendar. I thought, who knew? Our city has a calendar. There's many independent websites where people have, you know, mini blogs and things. They will have a calendar of events in the Santa Clarita Valley. Search those kinds of things out. And if you are a group that keeps your website up to date, all you need to do is visit us at blah, 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 XYZ for information about the current presentation. And that way, if you can make it a recurring event, somebody doesn't go, oh Lord, I'm going to have to remember to go into that calendar every single month and put the meeting information. You want to make it as easy as possible as you can for your volunteers. When the Los Angeles Computer Society was meeting in person, they would send their program information out to various members. They would print the flyer out and they would take it to the senior center that they go to, the library that they go to, a tech store in their area, because the LACS has communities around the Los Angeles airport. So they have a diverse group of people from different areas. And there's no way a PR person was going to travel and go to this Culver City, go to Westchester, go to El Segundo, and so on and so on. So that worked really well when they were meeting in person. And again, it was a way to divvy up. Maybe the person only went to 3 places, print out a few flyers, they get used to you being there, the whole 9 yards. But again, Nextdoor and your community calendars that are out there are good places to publicize. And what Bob said about a group disbanding when he left, yes, it did, which was unfortunate because it was a way cool group. And we just had a group in New Jersey that is disbanding. Their mover and shaker moved to Florida. And he was the editor of the newspaper, but he's the one who made everything, you know, go. And he moved a few months ago and he is living in a community with a computer club. And he says, when everything gets back to normal, who knows when that will be, he will approach them about joining APCUG because he thinks, you know, APCUG is the way to go. But yes, if there's one person who does everything, you can kiss your group goodbye. Over to Doc.
Good
Tampa Bay
morning.
Computer Society.
And thanks for doing this, Judy. I was late. My apologies. Has anybody talked about Google Ads?
No.
Okay. We're a recipient of Google Ads. So you know, you can apply to Google Ads and they give grants of $10,000 a month to be used for advertising on Google. You have to qualify, you have to be a nonprofit, number one, and then you have to qualify. And the downside is we're a recipient of it. Getting it to work has been something else. We've worked very hard for so far very little. So we're not giving up because $10,000 a month worth of free advertising is too big a prize to just let slide. So we are working on it, but check with Google Ads. They'll tell you what you need to do. That's all we did.
Put that in the chat box for me, Doc.
Certainly.
Thank you. And Michael from, I don't know where his club is.
We don't know who Michael is.
I don't know who Michael
Tampa Bay
is.
Technology Center.
Okay.
I wanted to just pop on to the nice lady in Los Angeles, Stephanie, who is worried about or concerned about the YouTube or wanted to learn about the YouTube. I was on a Zoom call last night and I met this absolutely wonderful human being who lives in Los Angeles. And if I mention her name, some of you might know who she is. I didn't know who she was until last night. Her name is Esprit Devora. And she runs a group or has a group called LA Technology. And she has a big following. And I joined her in a clubhouse room last night. She's a dynamic person. My suggestion to you, Stephanie, is to hunt this woman down. She's easy to find. Google her. She's very accessible, and invite her to speak at your club about YouTube or anything else. And trust me when I tell you, it will be very, very inspiring for you. I was totally enthralled with her on the Zoom call. She was just a participant in the Zoom call that I was on last night, and I was just totally amazed. And then I went on Clubhouse last night, and she has a room about happiness, and I went into the room and was again floored. The woman knows more about technology and this little finger than all of us do. And Judy, by the way, that active guy that moved to Florida, he didn't happen to move to the Tampa Bay area, did he? Because we want to snag
I don't
him.
think so. I don't think so.
Because we want to kidnap him and keep him for us.
No, sorry. And I mean, when he left, I knew everything that was going on in that group. And it was absolutely wonderful. He sent everything out to the members that I sent to him, as most of you guys don't do. And his members always knew what was going on. And I missed that because he was so responsive. And so if he gets the one going down there, it's their win. But yeah, I think he's in more north in Florida. Sorry about that.
Okay. When you get farther north than where we are, you're not really in Florida. You're in South Georgia.
Michael, can you give me the spelling of her last name?
D-E-V-O, if I can read my own handwriting, D-E-V-O-R-A, Devora. Delightful woman.
And is her technology group a meetup group or is it something else?
I don't know. I do not know, but Google her. She has a website that is her name, and it has a phone number. She put her cell phone number on her website, which is crazy. And just invite her to come speak to your club. If I had a club in Los Angeles, I would be on her like stink on you know what, asking her to come talk.
Okay, and her first name is E-S-P-I-R-I-T?
E-S-P-R-E-E, Esprit.
Esprit, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
It's all about users helping users.
I'm thinking
Over
about
to
Michael here. Could that person be recruited for APCUG VTCs?
Oh, listen, I've already got it down here on my tablet. What can I tell you? Over to Hank Drayton from the seniors group out of San Diego.
I'll answer my own question about how to get people to your Zoom meeting. We have succeeded in getting 2 retirement homes in our area to put our Zoom meeting on their calendar and tell all their residents on their calendar how to get to join that Zoom meeting. We have had quite a few new members because of that. Thanks.
Outstanding. Thank you. It's my bad. I was asked Dave Gerber to please talk about one of the outstanding meetings that the Sarasota Technology Users Group does every year. And I told him I'd call on him first, and I didn't because so many people raised their hands. But I was going to ask him to talk about their Circle of Learning. I think that is an excellent meeting for people to have. They do it every December. And in their meeting room, they would have separate tables set up, and Dave would be giving something, Huey would be giving something, and so on and so on. And members rotated from table to table and, you know, got a 15 or 20-minute presentation on something new and exciting. They did the same thing in December for their, as usual, but it was on Zoom. And it was the exact same thing. Well, they had elections, and Huey talked about a program, and they had some guy talked about the internet, and you go, oh yeah, and security, and you went, oh really, you know, and he had a total very short different focus on the subject, and it was a fun thing to do. And everybody got, you know, you could do that with 10 minutes of fame, so to speak. And one of the groups in Denver is kind of doing the same thing, asking members to, you know, talk about if they only want to talk and they don't want to show anything, talk about their favorite app or whatever. It's like pulling teeth to get people to do things like this with the Florida group. It's just, this is what we do in December, so people step up to the plate. But it's just a fun, and they call it a circle of learning, and that's exactly what it is. Even more so when you're looking at everybody's thumbnails and they're, you know, taking over the screen. So put that in your, you know, head and maybe think about doing something like that. We don't have any more hand raised, and I am dismayed about that. Nobody else has any ideas to share with us or solutions to problems. I love the retirement home one. And over to Jeff.
Okay, this is for the demographics that I deal with, and it's even me. Many of us have to make a decision. Do we want to hear people, or do we want to be compliant? And if you have laying around, well, I'm using my Comcast or Xfinity Velcro strips. You take it, put it on, attach it behind your neck, and you can have your hearing aid and your mask on at the same time. That's it, just a little bit of something I figured out.
That's interesting, because one of the guys who sells real estate, of all things, and says the real estate market is booming, he has a heck of a time with his hearing aids trying to hear anybody. I'm going to share that with him. Over to Stephanie again. Steph, press that space bar.
The LA Computer Society has a meetup group, which it's had for a couple of years, but as far as I can tell, they have twice as many members as we have, which is to say more than 200, but very few come to meetings, and I don't think we've got a single membership out of it, and it does cost us money. I'm just wondering whether other people have experienced meetup and how they've gotten those people to really participate in the paid club.
Stephanie, this is Bill James. Our club has a meetup account as well, and we have not actually got very much benefit out of it. So as of the next, we're thinking about no longer paying for it. We get lots of hits, but very few people even came to our meetings when we were in person. So that's kind of our take on it.
I believe the APCUG group had, in my slide, 302 members. And I think the problem is with Meetup, you don't pay for anything. Dues are dues at a computer club. Many groups have waived their dues now that they are online, and hope that some of the guests that are attending, if they start meeting in person, will actually join the group. And who knows if that will ever happen. Richard.
yes, we had a meetup site for a while and it didn't do us any good. So I don't know why that is, but it just didn't function for us.
Ray Baxter, I think, is here, and I believe his club might be running completely on Meetup. Ray, can you add to that?
Sure. Thank you very much, Bill. We had a club in Payson, Arizona for many years, going back to the early 90s. And like so many other clubs have experienced, more and more people left and left. We were meeting at the local library, and one night, I was the president, and my 3 officers all decided to resign. No animosity, nobody was mad at each other. They all came to the same conclusion. They had so many other things in life they wanted to do, and being part of our club was not one of them. They wanted to stay with the club, they just didn't want the responsibility. So I came up with the idea of making it a meetup club. I checked out meetup.com, and that I think is really good for big cities where there's large populations. Payson, Arizona is less than 15,000 people, so it really wasn't for us. But I made it a meetup club. What does it mean? Well, we just meet on a particular day at a particular time. You just show up. There are no dues. There are no officers. Yes, I probably have the main responsibility of trying to make a program that night and seek volunteers. We used to meet at the public library and had to pay an annual fee for that. Now we don't. Now we just meet via Zoom, so there's no expenses. I personally love it. I don't have to bring a projector. I don't have to set up the room. I don't have to tear it down. I don't have to travel. I love Zoom. And if we ever go back to a meeting in person, I'm going to turn the responsibility over to somebody else. So just call it a meetup club. You don't have to be part of meetup.com.
Bill James, we have had somebody ask, what is meetup? Could you just give it a short description of what it is?
Thanks, Judy. It's a website that you sign up for, and you put the information regarding your meeting times and places. And it's about $90-some every 6 months. People can then go on and search for activities. Say, for instance, computer club, your organization would show up, and then they can go in and sign up for the particular activity that's going to occur. And typically these places are local establishments before COVID. Like if they had a meeting hall, if it was at a library or whatever, you put that information in and then people would show up. But normally, typically, there's no charge for the attendees to go to those activities. And that's where the conflict, I guess, comes in with our computer clubs, is that we have membership dues. Although, you know, people are, in our case, people are free to attend as often as they like, but we prefer them to join. But that's not the premise, I believe, for Meetup. Meetup is just to have your activity advertised, you go and attend, and there's no charge for that. But it's a website that you pay, I believe it's 96 or some dollars. It's about $100 every 6 months.
Over to Melvin Weekly, who the president of the Villages group said he had his physical hand raised. So now he's popped up here with his virtual hand. So over to you, Melvin. He's with the seniors group in San Diego, but he lives in Colorado now. So, hey, your members I have a member who lives in Chicago. What can I tell you? Pressure there you go.
There we go. I'm unmuted. I had trouble finding the virtual raise hand button. I finally found it. I had a question for Joe Jimenez. Wondering if you could put together a list of the pros and cons of getting started on having a hybrid meeting, and what you guys ran into technology-wise as far as issues. We have started talking a little bit about if we finally get back into physical space, what do we want to do? Go back to just physical meetings, go back to a hybrid meeting. So we'd be interested in seeing what issues you guys ran into and what you found you need to do technology wise.
Okay, I could respond to some of your concerns. Well, as the key thing, we kept contact to our facility coordinator at the rec center, and that depends on the policies they have, the COVID protocols. So it's on a case by case basis. Even right now, we are skipping to face because we talk to our members, explain the situation, and they all agree, yes, a skip for this month and see what happens for next month. So we work very, very closely to the facility coordinators. The face-to-face, the problems actually we have very little problems. The Wi-Fi in the center was very good. They got the 5 gigahertz, which helps a lot on the bandwidth that we need to transmit, especially with Zoom. So we have one for the presentators. I have one, their laptop, and I got one laptop, and I have a USB camera, so everybody's pointing to that. And of course, the social distancing, like Judy mentioned, it's kind of spread out 6 feet apart. They got to wear a mask. So we had to sign at the center that we agreed, sort of like a liability waiver, that if anyone get caught, catch the COVID situation, virus, they're not responsible if you fail to follow the protocol. So it's something we have to adjust in this current situation right now. But it's a case by case basis. As time goes on, we have to evaluate it. But in the beginning, we tried it first, but we made it work. And people seem to liked it, and there only a few people came face to face, about 4 or 5, and spread out, of course. So again, it's depending on the rec center facility coordinator. You got to coordinate that very closely. So even right now, just recently, last week, I talked to the facility coordinator at our rec center that we go rent our rooms out. He gave me an update what's happening with the city policy, and they say they're still evaluating. They're taking a more cautious approach, but they say they will know more about like early next month, February. So that depends on the situation. But in the meantime, the Zoom meeting approach, it seems to be some of the people are happy, especially people are not able to drive at night, as you all know. So it's sort of a hybrid mix.
Would you tell us about your hybrid meeting?
Oh yeah, the hybrid meeting, we get a presentation out, and we go out at our rec center. We set it up a little early, get everything connected. I have my little camera, my webcam, pointing to the our audience, the people out there, and saying, yeah, sort of make a feeling of that we actually have a virtual meeting, physically as well as virtually. So it worked out pretty good. And I think the facility coordinator at the center, they're very helpful. They tried to make it work. There are other groups, they say they tried, they come face to face, but the facility coordinator helped us a lot to how you want it. We got to have to put the seats 6 feet apart. They give us wonderful support that we're asking, and we make it work.
I'm finding many groups are getting communication from where they used to meet that they will not be able to meet there anymore. They're not going to rent
and that is correct. Out. And slowly, I think people are getting adjusted with the Zoom meeting approach, because I think mainly it's more convenience. That's the key. And even right now, we're evaluating, as you know, this year, we're going to continue to purchase another year for Zoom, and because it's we don't know, even with the vaccine they're coming out, we just decided to continue on and see what happens. Again, it's an ongoing process. We have to adjust what's happening.
Thank you.
So,
Peter, over to you about your hybrid meetings in Dayton.
Yes, thank you, Judy. We've had hybrid meetings since the beginning, and frankly, I don't anticipate us going back to just an in-person meeting. We at the beginning of our hybrid meetings, we were kind of elitist, and we always thought somebody coming into and presenting on the big screen TVs at the restaurant whose meeting room we borrow, we thought it was a step down to have somebody come into on screen, just to have an on-screen meeting there. But since then, you know, frankly, I think we're getting a better group of presenters through our hybrid meetings, because they don't have to leave their offices to come and present. And it's doing well. The only problems that I'm noticing in the hybrid meetings is we don't have the bandwidth for everybody in the meeting to have their own connection to the Zoom meeting. So we have one Zoom meeting, and then we plug in that computer, or we have one computer rather. We plug in that computer to the big screen TVs in the restaurant's meeting room, and the PA system. The problem with that is that people walking up to the computer, looking at it sideways into the lens, into the camera, and can't speak loud, and then they forget to mute when they walk away. So we have a lot of ambient sound. So that's our problem with the hybrid meeting. And I was formerly an audiovisual technician, so I plan on applying a solution to that soon. I did want to talk about Meetup though, briefly. We have 420 Meetup members for our Meetup group, and we have less than 100 DMA members, paying DMA members. But to solve that, and when I became president, that's one of the things that I noticed that we need to address. We were dropping in membership. To address that, we set a policy as if you recruit 2 new members who have not been paying members for 5 years, if you recruit 2 new members a year, your membership is paid for that year, or we extend your membership by a year without you having to pay. We're working on it. We come up with solutions to those many common problems that you listed, Judy, and it's good to see that we're not the only one that has those problems.
Peter, I'm gonna jump in because of being your advisor. Tell everybody about the fact that you still have raffles when you're having a hybrid meeting.
John, that's what I was going to say. They raffled when the Geeks on Tour gave a presentation about Google Photos and Chromebooks. They raffled off a Chromebook.
Julie, may I add a comment to Peter? Yes, and you know, our concern was the bandwidth to do a hybrid meeting, and I agree. I was very concerned. It's the bandwidth, and luckily the rec center did had a 5 gigahertz wireless Wi-Fi, and if your laptop has that capability, that made a big difference. So we didn't have no issues of a delay at all.
Thank you for that
Aren't you
suggestion.
presenting in your rec center the presentation on a screen?
Yes, we did.
Why would people need to have their own computers then?
Oh no, the only is the presenter has a laptop, and I got my own laptop to display. I hook it up our video. We got a video projector. We display it and our cameras, so that way we could see at the same time. So it's for the audience, I should say. So
Before I call on anybody else, I would like to announce the winners of the membership contest. All of the groups that joined by 12/31, We got their PayPal payments by 12/31, and their envelopes were postmarked by 12/31. I put them at, when the information comes into Ray, he puts them in his spreadsheet, and all of the groups are in the order that they sent their payment in, and it was received, and I alphabetized that. I called John Kennedy and say, choose 3 numbers. And he turned to his wife, and his wife, Betty, chose three numbers. So the winners of the Fire 7 e-reader with Alexis are the Charlotte County Computer Club in Florida, the MGC Computer Club in Pennsylvania, and Slow Bytes in California. And I will be putting in, though, I will be sending those 3 groups an email and asking for where they would like them to be sent. Congratulations to them. And on to Don Van Sickle, because he's been waiting in line for a while.
Thank you. Don Van Sickle, Sterling Heights Computer Club, Sterling Heights, Michigan. One of the things, well, a couple comments. One thing I'd like to know is there a way for a presenter using Zoom to capture the attendance list? One of the things to membership is not only to getting new members, but also to retaining members. And one of the thoughts that I've had is I would like to know who attends our Zoom meetings for the flip side of who isn't attending, because then I want to reach out to them and find out if there's a general issue, if they're having an issue, or it's just, you know, they had something else to do that day or whatever. And the other comment that I would have is we can certainly look into a hybrid meeting or something, but the only comments I've received from our members about our meetings is that they can't wait to get back and interact with other people.
Don, I'll be sending you the instructions that John Kennedy and I put together on how to do an attendee list.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'd like to see that too.
Who said that?
Kurt Trout.
Okay, if you'd like a copy of those instructions, put your name in the chat box, please, with just an AL. To me, that will be attendee list. Over to Bob G again.
As a presenter, one of the advantages to using Zoom is that I don't really care how many people attend. And Avast doesn't care how many people attend a meeting. Avast last year spent over $25,000 on just travel, hotel, car rental, plane fare, and all the other stuff. Well, that's not the case anymore when you're doing it virtually. So attendance isn't really a prerequisite. I can now do presentations for smaller clubs, regardless where they're located, because as long as they have internet, I can reach the people one-on-one.
I have given presentations to 5 people. I'm a 22-long year of technology classes for seniors through our high school adult ed, and I've given presentations to 100 people. I'd love to give presentations, so I'd give it to one person if they attended the meeting. And often times I get apologies. I'm sorry, we just don't get that many people to our meetings. What people don't realize that when they talk about they have 100, they're down to 100 members. That's considered a big group these days. So don't worry about the number of people. I always tell when I give a presentation is, if you enjoyed the presentation, write up a little few words for your president. Then whoever sends the emails out to the group can say, hey, Bill James really enjoyed this presentation. He said he learned all about blah, 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 blah. And that gives the people who aren't attending your meetings via Zoom an idea, oh, hey, you know, it is worthwhile. Over to Kurt.
Unmute.
For a lot of years, we've been meeting in various locations, in Eagles Club and Knights of Columbus. most recently in the performance room of a senior center. We won't be back in there for quite some time, I don't think. But hybrid meetings, I think, are here to stay. I'm involved intimately with a couple of groups. One of them is our local computer group. The other is my church. And the idea has been expressed by me and a lot of other people that hybrid meetings are here to stay. And that right now, with restrictions on attendance and things like that, we can, I think, put a maximum of about 100 people in a 700-seat sanctuary on Sunday morning. And we have 2 sanctuaries that are about 10 miles apart, 2 physical facilities that do this. Our biggest exposure right now is virtual and things that are put out. I think they probably use Vimeo, but I'm not actually sure of that. But that we call these campuses, and our biggest campus is virtual. Virtual meetings or hybrid meetings are here to stay. In the case of the church, we have a huge audience that we can reach that way. We can meet members that we're in Minnesota, perhaps in Florida or Arizona, people that travel. We call them snowbirds. But anyway, doing virtual meetings is going to be something I think that is here, and then we're going to keep doing it. And when we get to the point we're doing it well, and I think some of you may be, I've had some poor experiences and haven't had an opportunity to address some of those problems, but they're here to stay. Another place that you can meet, and we have done this, is in a library, public library meeting rooms. The local one that I have here in town where I live, in the northeast part of the Twin Cities, is the most helpful group of people I've ever run into. But in order to use their meeting rooms free, you must be a nonprofit. You must be recognized probably by your state and definitely by the IRS as a nonprofit. Somebody had done that with our state many, many years ago, and then applied to the IRS. And they used to make you jump through a lot of hoops. You would apply to be a nonprofit, and they'd come back with questions, and it was a back and forth thing. There is a new class of nonprofits, and I think the boundary is something like $50,000 a year of income. But there's a, quote, easy form, and they cut down the fee to $400. Used to be $800 or more. But if you jump through the hoops, it will cost you a little bit more for your state also. Being a nonprofit opens some other doors. They didn't want to talk to me if I couldn't say that I was a nonprofit. But as a nonprofit, extremely helpful people and very good facilities.
The problems with meeting in a library, oftentimes the bandwidth, according to groups have told me, the bandwidth is miserable. And the fact that it's first come, first serve. They can set up their meetings for 3 months. And if they don't get there on the day that the calendar opens up for the next time, and they're out of luck.
Yep.
One of the questions I received via email was, how many groups still have insurance? Well, in California, if you are going to meet in any kind of facility, you need $1 million additional insured. I'm not a nonprofit, and my group, I have not had insurance for 1,000 years. We all agreed that we wouldn't sue anybody. And I get away with it, my senior center, because I signed a waiver that if somebody slipped and fell in the group and they agreed with this, they wouldn't sue the senior center. But that's unique in my area because they know me and they know the group. So I'd like to know, this would be wonderful if we could do a poll, John. We're going to have to remember this.
We just have it turned off.
Okay, yeah. But I'd like to know, if you put in the chat box, please just put the name of your group and an I for insurance. Put I at the beginning and the name of your group. If you still have insurance, This was a discussion about 3 years ago, and I surveyed all of the groups. There are very few groups that still have insurance. Some of them still insure their equipment. They've given up the bond for the treasurer and other members. They no longer have anything but liability, which is the most expensive. And many groups have zero insurance. They cannot afford it because, of course, of their membership decline. And so they don't get enough membership dues coming in to cover it. But I'd love to know in the chat box if you guys have insurance so I can give the information to the person who asked me that question. Over to Richard, who may be getting ready to leave. No, there he is. Richard's hand's no longer up. How about Dorothy? You ready to go?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention we made a decision 3 months into using Zoom when COVID started to ask members to renew their memberships, because in our minds as an executive, we are giving them every tool to get on board, and we have weekly meetings through our club. We have Android, we have a photo group, we have the Apple group, and then now we're doing Ask the Experts plus a presentation like we had Judy. And we just felt with all the time as an executive that we're putting into doing the presentations online, as well as exposing them to all the APCUG, as well as the Monday morning Ron Brown and group that do the presentations. I think for $25 a year, which is our membership, I think they're getting value added if they're interested in learning. You know, some of the, many of them have renewed. We still probably need to send out reminders to some of them. But I mean, Zoom is going to be here for a while. And personally, as a presenter in the club, for me, it's much easier because I have to drive there. I have to set up all the equipment, all the laptops in the room, and then I have to get ready to present, and I'm standing for 2 hours. Then I have to put everything away. So I leave my house at 9, I get home at 1. And to me, it's easier just to sign on and do a Zoom, and then we're done. And to me, it works well. And the same as executive meetings. We can just have an executive meeting as opposed to going to our facility. And I just find it's easier. The other thing I was going to say for like our teachers, there's George and I and 2 others. We're getting tired of presenting, so we're going to probably make use of the Speakers Bureau and other clubs going forward. The other thing we had to do with our club, we have 8 laptops, an iPad, a Chromebook, a tablet. George and I had to split everything out. I took all the laptops, he's got all the other, and we have to keep everything charged and updated. So like right now in the background, I'm updating all the club laptops because it's Patch Tuesday, right? The other thing I was going to mention, we do remote tech support or the phone or email, but it seems that there's only George and I doing the remote connections with some of our members. And, you know, that takes a lot of our extra time, you know, out of our volunteer time, I guess you'd say. But I mean, it usually works fine. We use Quick Assist or we do a one-on-one Zoom meeting with them. So that seems to work for those who need the help. And yeah, I guess we just need to know how to increase our participation. We're kind of at a loss. We did send out of an email saying, you know, you need to support our club. And, you know, we didn't say it, but basically if you don't, we're not going to do it anymore. You know, we were at that point where we were going to fold if we don't get, you know, when you get 3 teachers and 2 participants, it's not very good when you have 140 members. So anyways, that's all I have to say.
I have 2 things that popped up on my chat. One group said they can't afford the lawyer fee to become a nonprofit. I don't know of any group that has used an attorney to become a nonprofit. The people who know how to fill out forms, get the form, fill it out. The criteria of getting your nonprofit on the first time is wording what you are going to be doing to meet the criteria for the nonprofit. And when our advisory council did that for the community activist group I belong to, it took tweaking the reason why we should be granted a nonprofit status 3 times to get the words correct that it would turn us into a 501c3. So I don't really think it's necessary to have an attorney do this. I mean, we can read forms and fill them out and come up with reason on why we are what grand and wonderful people and should become a nonprofit 501c3. Another Tim Elder says, is everybody aware that nonprofits can belong to TechSoup and get free and discounted software? Recently, people have looked into that, and the upfront money for TechSoup now is quite high. John Kennedy has his thumb down. They used to get it, but it's very costly initially to get the free software, which is, unfortunate. What else do you guys want to talk about? Oh, Kurt's got his hand up again.
Yeah. With regard to forming a nonprofit, the first step is to become a nonprofit in your state, I believe. That's not much more than a form, and if you create a constitution for your group, you submit that and any bylaws with it to the state and get it approved. The big bugaboo to becoming a nonprofit was the federal requirement. That barrier has been lowered significantly, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, with the 1023 EZ form, which is really pretty simple. I had some questions about that, and I went to SCORE, SCORE, used to be an acronym for the Service Corps of Retired Executives, but it is an organization nationwide. They're sponsored now by the Small Business Administration, local and remote advisors. And I went to SCORE and I said, I want some help, going through this. And the hardest question was, what code do I put in here? And it used to be a big game sort of between the IRS and the nonprofit. You'd submit it, they'd ask questions, you respond to them, and back and forth. I think we went through that thing completely, in less than a month. We submitted the form once online. The federal fee is $400.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's half of what it used to be if you're small like we all are. Definitely worth doing it. And it's not that difficult. What your state is, I don't know. Requirements are, I don't know. In Minnesota, it doesn't look too bad, and it might cost you a couple $100 for the initial filing. We have to renew every year, and that doesn't cost anything.
So one thing when you're a nonprofit, you need to, put in a little report to the IRS every single year. We had one group in John's region that was thinking of disbanding because their treasurer they've changed hands, and the treasurer didn't have a job description, and nobody passed on the information that he needed to complete this little postcard and get it sent in. And then they decided, heck, they didn't mind not being a nonprofit because nobody'd ever given them anything for free or at a discount because they're a nonprofit. And life went on for them. In California, we don't have constitutions. We just have bylaws, or APCUG has articles of incorporation and bylaws. But the one thing to do is, if you are doing this and you have 13 people listed on your board of directors, you need to cull it down to 3. The only thing that is required is a president, a secretary, and a treasurer. And we've had another group that said, hey, we can't meet anymore because under the guidelines, we have to have those 13 officer slots filled. And in this day and age, that's never going to happen. So, you know, rewrite your bylaws. So you just need 3 key people.
I'll tell you
And
something.
then life can go on.
We did something when we filed with the IRS. We took the original Constitution, which was submitted, I think, in 1983, and then got lost way back there. But our Constitution is worded in such a way that all of our activities are controlled by the bylaws. And the bylaws are written in such a way that the board of directors only, okay, can, in essence, change the bylaws any way they want.
Right.
Okay. And the filing the tax form, it doesn't have to be your treasurer. It could be any of your officers. I usually do it. My wife's our treasurer, and much to her chagrin. But the only requirement is that you have to file it after the end of your fiscal year, and ours is in June, July. And you have to remember to do it. And the postcard filing is no longer a postcard. They won't accept it that way. You got to do it online, and it takes about 3 to 5 minutes. And the hard question now is, do you have $50,000 or more of income? And nope. And it's off, and it's done.
Many groups have double digits worth of income, $65,000, $75,000 in their treasury, and it always amazes me when groups have that and other groups have $2.95. Over to Stephanie.
Consider whether or not any of your members have legal experience. A paralegal or a general attorney who does civil work can find the paperwork to do that kind of presentation. It's not that hard. I'd never done one before I did it. And there are books that we are aware of, and there also are nonprofit organizations that sometimes help nonprofits create themselves.
One of our groups in SoCal that got their nonprofit sent the paperwork to me and said, feel free to share this with anybody, and they can just copy what we did and what is required to be filled in. And I forwarded to many groups, and it works seamlessly for them because we're all about education. That's how we get our 501c3 part. It's all about education, and that's our meetings and our classes and our SIGs that we do. Over to Michael from Tampa Bay Computer Technology Society.
Whoever we are, yes. Wanted to go back to Meetup. We have a Meetup account that was ignored for a while, but now we use it again. A good friend of ours, Chris Comintos, actually taught me how to be more effective with it. We have put 30 to 35 butts in the seats for classes that we charge $50 for via Meetup. And the thing that you have to understand about using Meetup is that it is on the internet. And if you want people to find you on Meetup, just don't expect them to go to Meetup and find you. When you make your Meetup presentation, I just put one up for a podcasting class that we're doing at the end of the month that we're charging $67 for. But you have to use keywords. You have to, a lot of keywords in your description. You have to make it very Google friendly. You have to have really good graphics. Believe it or not, the Google looks at graphics. And, a lot of the people who find us in Meetup don't find us in Meetup. They find us in Meetup by going to Google. So, if you pay the money and you use Meetup and you go in there and you type in, we're having a meeting Tuesday at 7 o'clock, be here, be there or be square, nobody's going to come. But also the names that you use on your Meetup. We have the Tampa Bay Technology Center as our main Meetup number or name, but we've also got a WordPress group that has its own Meetup page. And we have Clearwater Podcasters, which is a separate Meetup page. So if you're going to pay the money to have Meetup, make sure you know that it's on the internet and treat it like it's on the internet, like you're trying to sell somebody a slice and dicer or a ShamWow. You really have to go in and be smart about getting you noticed on the Google to make it work. But it is effective. It's not as effective as it was 10 years ago, trust me, but it is still effective. Like I say, before pandemic, we put 30 butts in seats where people were paying 50 bucks a throw to come to our podcasting classes. So, and our main form of marketing was Meetup on that. So now we're using Meetup, and we're also, another thing that you may want to get involved in, and we're doing it, and it has been effective, is Eventbrite. Eventbrite costs you nothing, and you can list free meetings on Eventbrite. And what Eventbrite does is that they promote it for you. In our little town, a lot of people go to Eventbrite to see what's happening in our little, in our area, and they will find events. Eventbrite is free. If you're going to charge money for your thing, Eventbrite will collect the money for you and take out, a little service fee that they add on to it, and we'll do it. We've done that before too, using Eventbrite, and actually put butts in seats of paid people using Eventbrite. So those are tools that you just have to use, but you must remember that they're on the internet. It's not a bulletin board that's in a, in a church. It's on the internet. Treat it that way. Keyword the hell out of it. If you don't know how to keyword the hell out of it, take a class on learning how to keyword the hell out of things and write good copy. That's all.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Dorothy.
I just wanted to mention, we're a nonprofit, of course, and the senior center we meet at is a nonprofit. And when our club was going to go under 3 years ago because we couldn't afford the rent, George negotiated with the senior center how we could do it. And we had a few stumbling blocks along the way, but now that we're all set in there, we don't want to leave. But basically what we negotiated was we get Tuesday, Friday, for what you call drop-in. People can bring their devices, doesn't matter what, and we'll have tech help or just a social. And then on every Thursday, we have our classes, which is Android, Apple, photography group, and genealogy. And then Saturdays, we have a 2-hour drop-in. But what the deal is you must belong to the computer club for $25 a year. And when you come to the structured classes or presentations, if you're a member of the computer club, you pay $2 to Silver Threads, but that's how all Silver Threads members, no matter what they drop into, they pay $2. If you're not a Silver Threads member, which is $55 a year, you have to pay $5 to Silver Threads each time you come to one of our Thursday presentations. So the benefit is to join the Silver Threads for $55 because they have, like, pre-COVID, they have all sorts of things. Like they have exercise classes, they have, people play cards, they do weaving, and they play pickleball. So, I mean, the benefit is previously our computer club membership was $85 a year. So they're really getting a benefit by being at the Silver Threads. So I just wanted to make that comment.
One of the groups in Southern California, when they met in person, they meet at what used to be called the senior center, and they wanted to try to get more people to come in, so they changed the organization that reports to the city, changed their name to the community, Lefetra Community Center, instead of senior centers. So the Glendora group changed their name from the Glendora Seniors Computer Group. They wanted to keep GSCC as their acronym, and they're the Glendora's Computer Club. And Lefetra used to do the registration for their computer classes that they gave. They accepted, gave them all the money that they received, and they gave it right to the computer club. The computer club did not pay rent. And every year they gave them a kind of, I'm going to say, good donation for letting meet there rent-free and taking the registration and the money and passing them on and not taking a cut. Of course, that has gone away, and I doubt that will resurface if they decide to meet there again, or even if they even can meet there again.
Yeah.
Over to Melvin from the seniors group again in San Diego, who lives in Colorado. You're on, Melvin. Just press
Keep
that space
forgetting to
bar.
unmute. I wanted to go back to the 501c3 thing. Well, I was in San Diego. I helped a lot of groups, and not just computer groups, get their registrations due for 501c3. And I got done with the Secretary of State, got the one you have to do with the state's attorney, and I got the one with the IRS and the FTV in California. I was able to get all of those done within 4 months with minimal hassle. And I started doing groups further and further away from computers as well. So I was able to get them through without any real hassle at all. I had one, I had to answer one question that they didn't feel was clear enough. But other than that, just zipped them right through within 4 months. So it can be done if, people really want to take the time to do it. It doesn't take all that much effort really, and most of it can be done right online. You don't have to go handle a lot of paperwork. So, yeah, getting the 501c3 is fairly simple to do, and it doesn't just cost that $400, like they say, instead of the $800 it used to be. So I recommend highly to people that are not incorporated, they go ahead and get it done because it'll really help smooth things out in a lot of ways.
I've received emails from a couple of groups wondering how they legally disband their groups. I have taken on the responsibility as the advisor for Region 1, and I would love to have somebody step up to the plate who lives in Region 1 that would like to volunteer for that position. But I sent emails out to everybody, the ones that had not paid their dues, and I heard back from one of the groups who has a notice on their website. They haven't been meeting since March 2020. And I finally heard back, and the gentleman said that they lost their treasurer, and they couldn't figure out how, and they wanted to disband, and they couldn't figure out how to do it. So Google is my friend. John would say another website is that I think DuckDuckGo should be my friend instead. But I Googled it and I chose the most simple set of instructions on how you can disband a nonprofit in New York. And I thought, okay. And I sent that off to them. They said, thank you very much. And they started working on it. The one thing that you need to know is if you do disband, you need to disperse your assets to a like nonprofit. If we were going to do that, we would give in my group whatever little bit of money we had left to our senior center, where we met for many years for free, and for the last 2 years we had to pay rent. So something to think about. But again, any browser of your choice is your friend, and go through several different places where the instructions are and choose the ones. And it's like the 501c3, start completing the forms and you're off and running. And some of the groups have dispersed their money among their members before they started the process, left a couple of hundred in their checking account, and that is what they gave to a like nonprofit. The group Melbourne in Australia used to have 20,000 members. That was back in the day, like Hal PC did, Alamo PC, both in Texas. Those were the 1,000-year-old good old days. And they're down to 1,500 members. And of course, they consider that a very small group. they have outlying, we would call them SIGs, but they have little groups all the way around Melbourne that meet. And the president said one of those groups disbanded, and apparently they had their own due structure, and they donated $5,000 to Mel BC. And he said, you know, we couldn't turn it down, but gosh. And with 1,500 members, they're worrying about somewhere along the line, you know, they're going to eventually, who knows when, be doing the same thing. But they have, they get the Microsoft. Microsoft Australia is very responsive to the groups in Australia, as opposed to Microsoft in the United States. And they get that quality of speakers, and they have a maker group, they have a STEM group, you know, the whole 9 yards. But even a group of 1,500 people says somewhere along the line, they're going to have to disband. And they wanted to make sure that they need to know where that money goes. If they don't designate it, he said it will go to the state, and they don't want that to happen. So just put that in your memory bank if you ever have to disband your group. Melvin, you're on. Press your space bar and hold it.
He's got low bandwidth too.
Yeah, apparently I must have clicked it by accident. I didn't have anything else to add.
Okay. If there, does anybody have any other questions? Any other discussion points? Any other, this is how we do it in our group, and it's just working wonderfully. If so, raise your hand and speak up.
Stephanie's got it both ways, hand and icon.
Okay. Very good. Steph, you're on.
Okay, recognize that you are if you are disbanding, recognize 3 things. 1, you are dealing with several different entities. In California, we're dealing with our Attorney General's office, which has a charities section. You're also dealing with the tax people, and you're also dealing with the federal tax people. So make sure that everybody that needs to know knows that you're disbanding, and make sure that you follow the regulations for each of the entities that you're dealing with, or each jurisdiction you're dealing with. Because, you know, your New York rules are not necessarily the same as the California rules. That's one thing.
Every state is different.
Yeah. The second thing, and also, you know, tell anybody that you've just been dealing with, like the post office and stuff like that. The other thing is that it is illegal to give your money, most of your money, to your members, and then you know, give $200 to another charity. The bylaws say very clearly that it all has to go to a nonprofit organization. It doesn't have to be exactly the same kind of a nonprofit organization, though I wouldn't take a computer club thing and give it to a church or something like that, but I would at least give it to an educational organization with something, you know, maybe technical, or, you know, a scholarship at a university, or something that's fairly that nobody would object to, basically.
I would love to read anybody's bylaws that includes the statement in there on giving away their money. I have never seen that in any bylaws that I've ever read.
Judy, it has to be in your bylaws, or you are not a nonprofit. I can show it. It's in ours.
Okay. Remember, I'm not a nonprofit. Over to Dawn.
On a positive note, we're going to try something new.
Cool.
In summers, we've been having a picnic get together we call a Gab Fest, which a lot of our members attend and like very much. So we got the idea of doing that by Zoom now. So we meet the first Tuesday of the month normally, and so on the third Tuesday of the month, we're going to start having a social hour Gab Fest, where people can talk about any subject they want, you know, what new equipment they've gotten, if they have questions about things. And we're going to try to give people another little social outlet in these lockdown times.
Thank you. And Dawn is from Sterling Heights?
Sterling Heights, Michigan, yes.
Okay. And Bob was furiously shaking his head yes to that. And the Pikes Peak group in Colorado Springs, their digerati meets once a month in a restaurant usually, and they're there to solve the problems of the world and talk about technology. And they are meeting online now and totally enjoying themselves. And I get invited each time. And when I don't have anything to do on that particular Saturday, I join them. I'm a little fly upon the wall and make a comment every once in a while. But life goes on for a lot of what we have always done with our groups. It's just that it's like this. And I'm looking at all of you, and I love seeing all of you. I've seen people that I have dealt with for, cripes, well over 20 years, that I might have seen at an APCUG conference in Vegas 1,000 years ago. And I haven't seen you since then, or I've been dealing with Terry via email forever. And all of a sudden I can attend her meetings and she attends these Zoom meetings, and I get to say, there's Terry in the flesh in front of my eyes. And again, I say what people are missing is the food. And I see you waving your hand, Ira, just hold on a minute. And again, it's not being able to eat together. I know Bob gets needled every once in a while by somebody in John Kennedy's group when he gives a presentation, because apparently he loves the pie that they have when he gives a presentation in person. Bob lives in New Mexico. He is a member of APCUG in Ohio. And she's always giving him a bad time because he can't get up there physically to have a piece of that pie, and wonders if his wife will make it for him. And that's just kind of a running joke with them. And that's the way we have to approach things. If we lose our sense of humor, all is lost totally. Ira, unmute yourself. You can start talking now. I'm sorry, we can't hear you. I don't think your microphone is working. Can't hear you. Try putting your mic up by your mouth.
I got it. I just got
There.
the audio settings. The audio
You're,
settings.
we got you, Ira.
Yep.
Have you got me?
Yep.
Okay. What I wanted to tell you was that I am a new member. First time I've been on APCUG, and I'm with the PUCG, Licking County Computer Society. And I want to tell you, it was pretty interesting today, because this is the first time I've talked to people or listened to people from all over the United States. And to me, this is the way it should go. As far as meeting with Zoom, I like to meet with other people too, but I wouldn't meet all these people like I'm doing now if I was just in the club. So I enjoyed it, and I just want to say, and I want to thank Bob G, and I met Bill James, and of course John, and I thought I'd try it one time. So I just want to let everybody know that I really enjoyed it. Okay.
Yeah, we have workshops and virtual technology conferences that John sends the information out to all his APCUG, not Licking County Computer Society
I know
members.
what it is.
They changed their name, and there's people who don't. And Bob thinks he still belongs to the Licking County Computer Society too, and that's what he signs in as. And I always change it to the new name. What can I tell you? But anyway, I have enjoyed myself. We have 99 plus comments in the chat box. We started out with darn close to 100 people. We had our fingers crossed it wouldn't be over 100, so we didn't spend the money for the extra number of people, and it worked out well. I thank everybody who is here, everybody who participated, and I really appreciate it. And Tony, what group are you with? Rochester? Pressures.
Yep. Okay, I'd unmute there for a moment. Yeah, it's Rochester Computer Society of Rochester, New York.
Okay, see, I always picture Tony, who I've been dealing with for years, as having dark hair. What can I tell you? And here he's a blonde. I mean, my gosh.
Well, it used to be darker.
That's the way it is for a lot of us. Oh,
Judy,
Bob,
don't forget my giveaway.
oh, that's right. Bob G has another comment.
Yeah, on Tech for Seniors, that 100 people, because we're limited to 100 people. What we've now done is we opened it up also to YouTube. We stream to YouTube. So when we reach that 100, those people that can't get in anymore, at least they can get in via YouTube. And then eventually we take down that YouTube live chat because we record the meeting and then post it as a video on YouTube. But if you can't get in because we've exceeded the 100 people, you can still listen to Tech for Seniors. And that's one way not to have to pay that extra money.
Also, that if they get in after, you always close your meeting right at the hour, so they can get in late by going to YouTube.
That's correct.
Yeah, I'm not involved with that. APCUG isn't involved with it, but I'm the one that people complain to anyway. And I get all kinds of complaints about the fact that my computer, you know, crashed and I couldn't get back in again. And why is that? They locked their meeting. I don't know of any other group who does that. But Sun City Center Computer Club in Florida, from the get-go, has broadcast their meetings via YouTube. And they thought the first time they were going to get hundreds of people come, and I think they had 35. But it's growing all the time, getting more closer to at least 100 people. So that's another way to expand your meeting people.
Judy?
If they're, oh, and yes.
I will be doing a presentation for them tonight. So I will be on via Zoom to 3 people, and everybody else will be doing it on YouTube.
Bob gives his presentation, they will go back and their person, I believe, Bob's their, Del Media is their webmaster. He will say a few words and they will turn it over to the president, Diane, and she will thank everybody for attending, and the meeting is gone. But they have, like I said, they have done that from the beginning. You go to their website, Sun City Center Computer Club in Florida. They have a link on their website, on their program page, that will take you through to, give you the link through to their meeting. Again, another way to do something. Bill James, the floor is, no, what does it say? The screen is yours. The president of the Senior Center Advisory Council says, the screen is yours, Bill James.
Thank you, Judy. Those of you that had the opportunity to attend my home automation workshops, I'd like to, I had a drawing, and we will be giving 4 individuals some gifts as a token of our appreciation. So I have we have 3 Google Minis and 1 Echo Flex. So the winners of these devices is Ellie Hoffman, Jerry Sass.
Oh, good.
Kurt Trout.
Yay.
And Lynn Kaganish. So congratulations, guys, and thank you for attending our workshops.
I do have to do that. I'm looking over here and I have a mini and a dot. I forgot. I have 1 of each. So there's 2 minis, a dot, and a flex. So there's 2 of each. And we're just going to send them out potluck. I'm sorry. And hopefully that you can use what you get. But if I got the Echo Dot, I would give it as a raffle prize at my group because I'm a Google kid.
But you can have them, you can have a mix and match. I think,
Oh, I am happy with what I've got. But yes, hey, JJ, you're there. Dwight, honest to God, he has every home automation thing known to man, and he mixes both his Echoes and his Minis with absolutely no problem at all.
Yeah,
And
I got Google. Excuse me, not Google. I don't have Google. I have Alexa all over the house.
Okay.
Yes, but yeah, I do a mix.
And is your heated toilet seat have to do with home automation?
No, it does. No, it does not. I have two of those.
Darn! I
but,
thought it did because it has been so cripey cold here in California that I thought
I do have the remote. I do have the remote control on one of them, but other than that, no, they're not. I can't tell them, Alexa, do this for it yet. You know, not yet.
But you let me know if you ever find one that does that, okay?
All
hey,
right.
I appreciate you guys being here. We will get the recording up today on the YouTube channel, and I will go through what's going to take me the longest is putting the chat out of the text view into a word processing document, and I will share all of that with you. And I don't think I have anything else that I have to send you guys except for a link to the video and the chat. Am I correct?
I'm just reminding everybody to watch for the registrations for the next two Wednesday workshops coming up this month, and the VTC coming up in the first part of February.
And the VTC is going to be how to do things.
Howdy do.
So if you give a presentation on how to do fill in the blank and you would like to do it, get in touch. And John, do you want me to send the Linux stuff for 2021 to the whole free world or just the Linux list?
The one for this month, free the whole world, yeah.
Got it.
Judy,
thank you so much. And somebody's saying something.
Oh, you said something about the attendance list of
Zoom
meetings. Send that out because what we just recently came up, we got a chance to get some money, but they want to know our attendance on the Zoom meetings we've had this year, and we hadn't been keeping attendance.
Laura, did you put your name in the chat box that you wanted it? Yeah, Laura, put your name that you want, AL, and Judy will send it to you.
Yeah, John and I worked on that. We thought we were very clever, and Bill looked at it and said, hey, you don't need this first step. So we do a lot of collaborating, the three of us. I call us the COVID team. The COVID tech team. Anyway, thank you much. John is going to end the meeting in 5 minutes in case anybody has anything else they would like to use, put in the chat box for anything. And thank you for learning how to go to your reactions and raising your hand. By golly, that is so much easier than the way it was before. And goodbye. I'm going to have breakfast now.
Yeah, and I'll say thanks for attending my code word of being together when your bites apart.
And remember, in your meetings, put your Terry Harvey, program chair, Lloyd Lindsay, president, Jeff Robbins, president, Peter Hess, president. That way, if you've got any guests, they'll know who you are.
Yep, I think
and
the
the
idea.
next time we ask you to add your groups, we appreciate it if you actually do that.
So,
bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Goodbye.
Honest.
I want to
Bye.
thank Judy and the rest for hosting this meeting.
Thanks, Kurt.
Hey, Kurt, we have a good time.
Yep.
I'm a mom, Grammy, and teacher. There's nothing better I like to do than share and get other people to share.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
I'll get this stuff to you in a little bit. I've Got to rush out and do a tech call.
I love that Steve Powell's little picture there. That is too cool.
Me?
I wonder if he actually wears glasses.
Oh.
I actually do.
Oh, of course you do. Thank you. Oh, you are with Kegs.
Yes, I am.
Mom remembers things here, okay? And did you won a digital photo contest prize, and he's gone.
There he's back.
Yes, yeah, I did. And thank you for the prize.
What did you win?
One of the ring lights.
Ooh.
Cool. I've heard from several people that they really liked it, and I've heard from a couple of people, Bill, that they came unglued when they got the lens for first prize. In fact, George Bowden from the Victoria Group was kind enough to open the package that he had received that morning or the day before. He saved it to open it in front of our very eyeballs when he did it. And it was supremely wrapped in craft paper by moi. And it took 3 weeks to get to Victoria, Canada. And he still hadn't received his first place certificate, which was mailed the same day. And it was $20 to mail it. And it was $20 to mail the same thing to a first place winner in Florida. But she got hers immediately.
All right, don't think there's much else happening, so we will stop and then resume next week.
Oh, let me save the chat.
Okay, I saved it automatically.
I've saved
you can
it.
save it.
You did? Okay, let me download it too.